Hello everybody, it's Keith. Help support the Northeast scene and declare yourself a member today. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or your podcast medium of choice. Rate us and leave a review. Every little bit helps. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It has every podcast episode plus other exclusive content. Like and leave a comment. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at TheNEScene. Also, continue to write us at northeastscene@gmail.com. We want to share your experiences as well. And now, here's the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Northeast Scene Podcast, Season 2. That means like year 2.
Oh, my word.
Yo, you know how podcasts do like seasons? Like it's like Season 1 is 10 episodes. Season 2 is 10. We are here every week, no matter what. There are no seasons. Yeah. It just keeps going.
It's like one cohesive storyline. There's no segmentation. Like there's no break. It's just us. Done.
No beginning and no end. It continues eternally.
Yeah, it's like what was that movie? No Country for Old Men. Fucking no ending. Like what the fuck was that? Like
you didn't like that
ending? I liked
ending?
it after I watched it the second time, but I saw that in the theater and I remember being like, okay, did something get messed up? And then the credits started rolling and I was like, what the fuck? I'm so mad.
Coen Brothers movies I cannot understand in one sitting. I have to watch it a couple times and then I'm like, oh, it's not like it's not like a standard movie where you just watch it and you're like, okay, there's a lot of thought in it. There's a lot of thought that goes into it.
100%. Actually, you know what you and I were just talking about this during the week with texting each other. I got the same feeling when I watched True Detective Season 1 the second time. The second time through, I'm like, I'm a little disappointed because I already know. I know how it turns out, but all right. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know True Detective Season 1, just stop for a second and pause, and then fast forward like 20 seconds. But do you remember this? So the scene where Russ takes Ginger and they start robbing the house. Yeah, that is so nail biting. I knew Russ got away. I know he gets away. But the whole time I was still on the fucking edge of my seat. I was like, this is it's like panic inducing. I'm watching it going like, holy shit, how is he going to get out of this? And then there's another detail in there that I didn't notice. Ginger runs away at one point. Like he's escaped Russ and then just fucking runs right back to him and Russ levels him. It's such a fucking great part. I didn't even notice it the first time I watched it.
That whole scene and the chaos and him running through the neighborhood to get out of there is like top tier TV.
I know what's funny. I've always thought of Matthew McConaughey as kind of like a jokey, kind of like, hey man, like that kind of like, the character he played in Dazed and Confused, that kind of. He is a really, really good actor. You believe he is Russ Cole in that fucking movie. In that show, you legitimate. I watch that and go, he is that dude.
Yeah, he's great. He was like written off as a romantic comedy nothing actor. And then he made a comeback in a big way.
Because there was True Detective, and then there's the other one. What's the one about the guys that were bringing the AIDS medication in? Something with Texas in it, right?
Yeah, there's that movie. There's Mud. It's another really good one.
Too, where he befriends that little boy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. There's Interstellar.
It's funny. I listened to a remix of like some of the songs on Interstellar. I've never seen that movie.
I like the movie. I think the ending is stupid. I know people say that a lot, like, oh, I don't like the ending, but the ending of Interstellar, in my opinion, is pretty dumb, but I think it's worth watching. The movie is definitely worth watching.
That's a great, there's so many movies that I just love, and I'm like, I haven't watched them in a long time, and now I watch them as like an older person, and I'm like, shit, there's a lot of subtleties that I missed in this, or have forgotten over the time, or I watch it and go, this doesn't hold up. Like, I remember thinking this movie was hilarious or this movie was amazing, and it just doesn't hold up. I remember watching in college, somebody had like a bootleg copy of Boondock Saints, and I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. I love it so much. This is so awesome. And then I had that surgery over the summer, and I was laid up for like a day or two, and I was like, oh, I'll put that movie on. It was like, I forget who had it on demand. I watched it. I turned it off about 20 minutes in. I was just like, fuck this movie. Like, this is, I don't like that. Like, none of it, like, it just didn't, it seemed like,
when you're 17, it's the best movie
yes,
ever.
As a 38-year-old, I was like, ugh.
Yeah. It's definitely a time and place coming of age movie. But, real quick, before we say more things, tonight on the show, our friend Luke Carmen will be joining us. He was in Life, Sick Life. He was in Demiurge. He was in Jeer at Rome with Anthony Green. And now he's in Monsters Eat People, a post-rock outfit out of Philadelphia. I think he was like the best drummer from the area.
Oh, yeah.
At least top 3.
He was a really good drummer. And I just remember when Anthony was making Jeer at Rome, he was just like, we're just getting the best people. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when that band debuted, I was like, wow, this is a powerhouse outfit. So we're going to talk to Luke about all that stuff. And I haven't seen Luke since I was like 20 years old. So I'm just really curious about what he's been up to, too. So we'll be talking to Luke. And what's going on with you, Tommy? I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
Really?
I don't know why, but it feels like that.
I don't know. I don't have like a ton going on right now. School's kind of trucking along. Oh, I do have something cool. I got my appointment for my COVID vaccine.
Oh, right. Next week, right?
Next Monday, I'll be getting it in the morning. And then they schedule both vaccines at the same time. So my follow-up one, I guess 21 days later or whatever it is right in the middle of my spring break, April 5th. So I'm excited for that. Especially because now that means when my school goes back to being hybrid, I can go back into the classroom, because that was a big concern of like, if I wasn't vaccinated and I get COVID, because I have all these issues with my immune system because of losing my spleen when I was younger, I wasn't going to be able to go back. And now I'm like, dude, I can't wait. I can't wait to get into a classroom. Part of it's just because I'm sick of the kids being like, oh, my Wi-Fi is not working. Like, you're sitting in front of me. I guarantee it's working. Like, I'll walk over there and look at your screen.
Yeah. If they're on the computer, it's working.
Yeah. No, they'll say things like, oh, because, we use Google Meet to like run the classroom, but like all the documents they need are on this other site called Edge Elastic. So they'll go, oh, my Edge Elastic's still loading. And I'm like, I don't know if you're lying. Like, but if you're in the classroom with me, I can just walk over and be like, I'm looking right at it. What are you talking about? So I'm excited for that. My wife also got her appointment to get her vaccine, but hers is really far away. She's got to drive out to York, PA. So it's like a 2.5 hour drive, but it is what it is. Look, I'm really excited just to get somewhat back to what normal feels like. I can't wait to go swimming, go to the beach, our movie theater's going to open again. I want to take my kids to the movies. Like
eventually,
yeah, right?
Probably once we reach herd immunity or whatever.
Like I missed that experience. We took them to go see, gosh, what was it? I forget now, but they were so excited. And it was like the first time they were able to, we took them when they were younger, when they were like, 2 years old. Like, they can't sit through the whole movie. Like they get too antsy and they're like, I gotta go to the bathroom and I don't like this snack and I want to get like, so when they were about 4, they sat through the whole movie, and I was just so excited. Like, we can do this on like once a month. We can just come to the movie theater and just burn an afternoon hanging out here, eating popcorn and spending time together. Like I want to get back to that.
Yeah. Well, do you want to know how I'm doing? Not good.
Oh no.
Yeah. I think why. I don't want to talk about it yet on the show. Sorry for being cryptic, audience, but it's just one of those things. But my schedule is flipped upside down. Now I wake up, I don't eat breakfast, I start working right away. I think I usually eat lunch, and then I shower and get ready at like 5 or 6 p.m., and then I eat a late dinner. I'm not sleeping well. I just feel like crap all the time. It's just like, it's crazy. I feel crazy.
Oh, jeez. I actually, I don't eat breakfast or lunch. Like I don't, yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
I never really was a breakfast person. And then with the way this schedule for my teaching works, I skip lunch most days. I just have, just like something small, like an apple or something like that. I don't eat like a real like lunch. But yeah, I can totally, yeah, when you're ready to talk about that, we'll have a full on conversation about it. But yeah, it's definitely, I think one of those things is also when you don't have sleep, it just throws your whole day off.
Yeah. Like the other night, I woke up at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and I could not get back to sleep. I was just sitting there. And usually I just sit there all night staring at the ceiling or trying to sleep. And I was like, no, forget this. So I got up, I went over to my computer and fired up the emulator. And I just kept playing Mike Tyson in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out again until I beat him. And I did take him down once.
Good for you.
It took like 25 tries or something. He's really hard.
Well, he's
really
one
hard.
hit and you're done, right?
For the first minute and 30 seconds, he can take you down with a one-hit
Yeah.
punch. Yeah. So I don't know. Things are crazy right now, and I just have to sit and suffer through it. It's just one of those things. But a lot of people have come out of the woodwork to support me. I have plenty of support. I have things I can do. I'm making sure I get out of the house. I'm doing what I got to do. And I think it's going to be okay, but it's just very, very depressing in the meantime. And, I'll talk about it eventually, but today is not the day. And we're in year 2 of the podcast now, Tommy. Year 2.
Isn't that strange to say?
Yes.
It was still kind of like, I was talking to my mom last week and I said, oh, we had the 1 year anniversary of the podcast. And she was like, you've been doing that for a year? And I was like, yeah, isn't that strange? And she's like, it seems like you just started it. I thought you started it only like a few months ago. I'm like, nope. It's been a year. Like,
it feels really new still. Or it's like one of those things that people just do and then stop. You know what I mean? So I feel like people would say like, oh, it's been a year, or oh, you're still doing that? Like one of those.
I actually, one of the kids brought up today in class, they were like, hey, this Saturday, so this is going to air after this, but they were like, this Saturday is the last day of school. We were actually in school last year, March 13th. That was our last day of school last year. And I was like, oh shit, it's been a year of just being in my basement. Like, it's fucking nuts, dude. It's still kind of like, it doesn't seem real sometimes. Like, I catch myself being like, is this still happening? We're still going through this? Like, it's insane. And I thought about this, like, oh yeah, the summer. And I'm like, I can't even remember things we did in the summer. It was just like, we just spent all day hanging around the house because you couldn't go anywhere.
I've lost all concept of time. Time, as they say in True Detective, is a flat circle.
We got it, fucking Nietzsche.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Everything just feels crazy lately, but we're going to keep pressing forward. That's our motto.
I didn't know we had a motto.
Keep pressing forward.
I like it.
All right, well, we're going to talk to Luke now, so here he is. Enjoy. All right, folks, we're here now with Luke Carmen. Luke, how the hell's it going?
What's going on? I'm doing good, guys. How are you guys?
Oh, great. You know, man, I'm glad you're on the show because I haven't talked to you in probably 19 years.
It's been quite a while. Yeah.
I was really glad that you messaged me and let me know who you are.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know it was you, Luke, and I always wondered what happened to you. So I'm excited to find out about that.
Yeah.
But let's start off with something easy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. It was a nice sunny day. I work outside, so it was really nice to be in the sun and working all day and not wearing 5 jackets. And
what do you do?
I do. It's called paintless dent repair. So I fix dings and dents on cars. Like if a shopping cart hits your door or something like that, or another door, or minor body work. So I go to like different car dealerships and fix all their cars, like people that trade in their cars, that have damage on them before they go back out on the lot. I fix them. I go to body shops. I go to people's houses. So it's a mobile business. Doing it for, it's funny, almost 19 years. Yeah.
So you must have started the day after you stopped talking to me.
Correct. I was like, you know what? I don't talk to Keith anymore. I'm going to do this, and that's it. That's what's happening.
Yeah, man. It's been a long time, but we're here now doing this podcast. So let's talk about, where did you grow up? Where in Bucks?
Croydon, PA.
Yeah. That's where my dad grew up too.
Really?
Old Croydon or New Croydon?
New Croydon, like right across from the creek.
So how did you discover the scene? Now, I remember meeting you. I was with Mike Shaw and Pat McCormick and maybe somebody else. And we went to, it was my first non-Shaw House hardcore show. This was an epic show. Dillinger Escape Plan, Converge, Turmoil, For the Love Of, probably other bands that I'm forgetting. And I remember you were there. I think you drove.
Okay. Where was that at?
College
Middlesex College.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some epic shows there.
Dude, that was an awesome show.
Yeah, man. Like that's what got me into hardcore.
Okay.
I had no idea who Dillinger Escape Plan were or what was going to happen, and the place erupted. Like, people were jumping on top of me. Everyone was beating the crap out of each other. Two guys dressed in clown makeup were just pummeling people. Yep. There was blood all over the dance floor. Someone drew a pentagram in the blood. Like, I was hooked, dude. Yeah, I was hooked after that. I was, but like, let's talk about your musical history first, like instrument-wise. Do you only play drums?
Yep, just drums. Yeah.
How did you learn, and when did you start?
So I started playing when I was 12.
Yeah.
So I'm 42 now, so 30 years I've been playing. 12 years old, I got my first kit. My uncle played drums, and I remember being younger than 12 and being over his house and just learning things here and there, basic things, playing along the songs. And then my mom tried to convince me that I should play an acoustic guitar instead of the drums, and I was like, nah. I took a couple lessons, and I was like, not for me. And then I took piano lessons for about 6 months, and again, it was like, this just isn't right either. So I saved some money, bought my first set, and there it is. I was in the garage at my parents' house, just wailing away. I took some lessons from the music store in Bensalem that I actually started working at. It's called Philadelphia Music Company. So I took some lessons there for a little bit, and then I ended up working there when I think I started working there when I was 14. I was like building drum sets for Christmas time or something.
Wow.
And then just being around the store and being around a bunch of great drummers that would come in and out. It was that was it for me, man. I was like, drums, that's it. That's what I'm doing. So all through, I guess 12, 13, the last couple of years of grade school. And then I went to high school, and I had this great idea of playing football, this small person that I was. And these two guys came up to me after football practice, these like monster people. And they came up to me and they were like, "Are you Luke?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." And my neighbor was a senior when I was a freshman in high school. So I had a lot of friends that I kind of knew from the neighborhood that were all seniors. So I guess word had gotten out that I was a drummer. I kind of had a band with a few friends, but it was just like whatever, we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
So these big football player guys were like, "We need a drummer in our band." And I was like, "Oh, I kind of have a band." And they're like, "You're going to be in our band." And I was like, okay, yeah.
This had to be Life Sick Life, right?
No, this was before that.
Oh, okay.
So,
because it just seemed like something like, like, "Hey, you're in our band now." Okay, I'm not going to ask any questions.
No, this was a band called Thanatopia.
Wow.
And that was like my first thing, first band. A couple years of that. We played some shows here and there, recorded, and whatever. There's some recordings floating around somewhere that I'm sure somebody has. I haven't been able
What
to
kind
look.
of band was it?
It was like, it was heavy, and I think it was more like grunge influence,
Yeah.
Pearl Jam-ish, that whole Seattle scene, because I remember those guys were pretty into that. But there was a lot of metal stuff that happened too. So it was like a grungy metal thing. And then a couple of those guys went off to college, and that's when Rory came into the picture. So it was me, Rory, and this dude named Chris Connor that played guitar. And we had another band, 3-piece band called High Ground Concept for maybe a few months. We played in Bristol. Remember the Bare Feet Cafe in Bristol?
No.
It was like this little place on Mill Street, and bands would play there. And it was just like these two hippie people owned it, the husband and wife. And I think it was like a coffee shop, and they had shows at night. It didn't really last too long, but there were some cool shows there. So we played there. And then after that that's the Life Sick Life. It started in about 95.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question. When you first linked up with Rory, and we're talking about Rory Haynes, folks. He's a legendary bass player
Legend.
from Bucks County. He was in Demiurge with Luke.
Yeah.
He was in Life Sick Life with Luke, and I don't know, he went on to be like a jazz bassist, I think.
Yeah.
That dude was a legend when he was like 18. Was he amazing when you started playing with him?
Yeah. So he took lessons at the music store that I worked at, and he would hang out with me and listen to, I always had CDs playing behind the counter, and, we had a lot of good interest. He'd come out of his lesson and I'd have some crazy thing on, and he'd be like, yeah. So we got talking, and that's kind of the connection with me and Rory. So that was that. And we linked up with Jay, our singer from Life Sick Life. He was another like music store. It was everybody came into the music store, and it was just like this big hangout. Like every time that I was there, it was an amazing job. I'm still friends with the owner, to this day. My buddy Tom, I learned so much stuff from him. He's a great drummer. Learned a lot of business things from him. Just a great guy. But yeah, 27-ish years later, I'm still friends with him. And so Jay comes in to the store. Same thing. He's like, yo, I always hear you back there playing, and you need to be in my band. It was like always like this, you need to be in my band type thing.
I love that, because I struggled so hard to get into any band, and with drummers it's a little different, but you have people beating down your door like, hey, you're in my band now. It's like, okay.
I was like, well, I kind of really don't have a choice, so yeah, sure. I don't have anything else going on. Let's do this. Life Sick Life was a good, almost 4-year run. And then, Jay, unfortunately, he's not with us anymore.
Remind me if I have the story correct. He was in a new band.
Mm-hmm.
They were practicing in a storage space.
Yeah.
And there was somehow an incident with the space heater, and he tragically, I think he caught on fire or something and died, right?
Yeah, he did, man.
God, that's horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. He was, one of my best friends, and it was that was a tough time.
Were you still did you still talk to him after Life Sick Life?
We kind of for a little while, and then at some point we had a little bit of a falling out.
What happened?
I don't remember what happened. It was probably some stupid fight.
Yeah.
And he had joined this other band. I don't know if it was maybe something about like the way that the band was going, and the four of us weren't seeing eye to eye, and he went off on his own thing to try to start this other project. And I hadn't talked to him it was probably a good 6 months or more. And I think before this all happened, we may have made up and at least been on like speaking terms. But I like just don't remember a lot of things from back then with that, because it was like a super tragic time. So I think I just blocked out some things from that.
Right.
But it was crazy. That was a crazy time.
Yeah. So did Life Sick Life come to an end because I guess people had different ideas of where they wanted the band to go, and you just couldn't get on the same page?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened. We had another singer that came in towards the end, and we recorded some stuff with him. So we had 2 singers, almost trying to do like he was like a rapper kind of. So we had like this like hip hop kind of thing with what Life Sick Life was doing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working. And I think he kind of, that dude lost interest, and then it just kind of like fell apart.
Yeah. And that Life Sick Life predates my time getting into the scene a little bit, but now there was this video floating around of a Life Sick Life show, I think at some Legion Hall or something.
Oh, probably one of those ones in like Philly, like Juniata or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and now this is a classic tape because Scarred for Life opened too.
Okay.
And this is the famous Scarred for Life show where Mike beat up Kevin, the singer.
On stage.
In the middle of the set. Now, I don't know if I can get trouble. I don't know if I can get in trouble for. I can talk shit about Kevin, right? He can't like sue me or anything.
I don't think he can.
Oh, okay. I hate that dude. I hate that dude. And we would watch that video over and over in slow motion. And he didn't like, he said fuck you to Mike, and Mike runs onto stage. Kevin doesn't even fight. He crumples up into a ball and like covers his head, and Mike just like hits him a couple times and then walks off. And I was like, yes. Yo, now you were in a band. Wait, I don't want to be obvious here. You were in a band with this individual, K Nord.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's too obvious. Kevin N.
There we go.
Yeah.
KN. Yeah.
You were in Demiurge with him.
Yep.
He was the vocalist. Did you ever have any problem with him, or did you guys get along okay?
We got along. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember him being too difficult to deal with or anything, and I'm not really sure where the beef with him and Mike Miggs came up, but I definitely remember that show, and I was like, oh boy, this is not going to be good.
Yeah, I would love to know what that beef is about, because Mike walks off stage and Kevin yells "fuck you" into the mic, and that's the wrong person to yell "fuck you" to.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, basically, I'll have to talk to Mike about that. I should have. I kind of figured we would bring this up, and I should have texted Miggs before this, but I didn't.
We'll get to the bottom of it, but yeah, that I hope that video is still out there somewhere. I would love to dedicate a week to posting that clip over and over again.
It would be amazing. Yeah.
So we unearthed the Life Sick Life demo, which we put up on our site. And, I missed the band back in the day, and I didn't really ever listen to the demo. But I have to say, when I put it up, that first song got caught in my head for like a week.
Yeah.
I like it. It's really catchy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, it was simple. The lyrics were real simple.
Yeah.
Very repetitive. And we were kind of just like, whatever, we don't write lyrics, we write music. He's writing lyrics. These are fine, whatever.
Yeah.
And it just worked for back then. It was just like great things for people to just like sing along to and kill each other over. And it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time. We played a lot of shows in a short amount of time, and we had a great time with that band.
How did you play, like, in Philly at all?
We played in Philly. Yeah, we played Philly. We did like Scranton, that place CC's that everybody played at back then.
Oh yeah,
played there a lot. Yeah, we had some good shows. We played at CC's with One King Down. That was pretty amazing.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
How old were you when all that was going down?
I guess I was 16, 17, 18.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super fun.
See, I think, do you still have that big red drum set that you played back in the day?
I have it. It's still mine, but it's at Mike Lapone's house, the guitar player from Life Sick Life, my best bud. He needed a set for his music room, and I have a bunch of drum sets. So I was like, you know what? Why don't you take these and have them for your music room? So yeah, they're still like in the family, part of the Life Sick Life memorabilia.
Yeah. Were those the same drums you used in Life Sick Life?
Yep.
Yeah. Whenever I think of you, I always think of that drum set.
That's awesome.
Did you ever think of, I think you were one of, if not the best drummers in our whole scene. Did you ever consider like going pro or anything like that? I could see you easily jumping into any band and just doing it.
It was always on my radar to just take it to the next level, and for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. You know?
Yeah. Do you ever have any regrets about that?
I don't have any regrets. No, because I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and I think in the last couple years I've really honed in on that. Like everything happens for a reason. We meet everybody for a reason. I got into teaching yoga 2 years ago, and a lot of things have come from that where, I feel like a lot of people would have regret and look back and be like, oh, I should have did this or I should have did that. And the yoga path kind of teaches you that everything's laid out for you, and it's all there. You just have to follow that path and just kind of just like water flowing down a stream. It just does its thing. Sometimes it deviates off that path if there's a rock or a bunch of sticks or a little dam in the way, but for the most part that water just flows, and I just kind of always just took that path where it led me.
Yeah, I've had a lot of regrets in the past, wondering like, why didn't I put more effort into music? Why didn't this work out? Why didn't that work out? But I've kind of come to the same realization that it was just not my path.
Mm-hmm.
It was something I was trying to force, and for whatever reason, it just was not the direction that life pushed me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've kind of come full circle on the whole thing, and I'm like, hey, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, when you look at things that way, it really takes a lot of the burden off your shoulders to be like, I did it. It's okay. Like this isn't for me right now. And, there's always another opportunity that comes along to join a band or do something else or record. I know you just put a record out yourself not too long ago, right?
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2 years ago, I think. So that, and we were talking about this in a recent episode, like there will always be a musical project. There will always be another one.
Mm-hmm.
I usually go a few years between bands, but another one always comes up. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
How do you get into teaching yoga? Do you have to get certified or something?
Yeah. So I did a teacher training, 200-hour teacher training. I've been thinking about it for a while because I've been practicing yoga off and on for, a good 13-ish years or something like that. More off than on because, yoga studios and guys are kind of like this weird thing.
Yeah.
And it's I never felt, I lived in Bucks County back then. I live in South Jersey now for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But all the Bucks County studios that I went to, I just kind of never felt right there. I didn't feel like I belonged. And, I like thought about doing a training and being a teacher and like, oh, this would be cool. This would be cool. I ended up doing my teacher training with Ray Cappo from Youth of Today and Shelter.
Oh, nice.
Get out.
Yeah. So he's my yoga teacher. And, through the last couple of years, we've become really good friends.
Wow.
So he runs a place up in upstate New York that does teacher trainings, and he's been into this certain type of yoga for about 30 some years.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what I was getting into when I went up there to do this, and I got there and it was like this is the place. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do a 200-hour training, and I've been teaching for 2 years at a place right around the corner from where I live. So I teach 1 day a week, and it's awesome. I love it.
Tell us about some of the training. What do you have to do?
Well, this particular lineage, this yoga lineage is called Bhakti yoga. Bhakti translates to devotional service. So devotional service to something bigger than yourself. We tend to think of Western yoga as, the movements, the poses, the tight yoga pants that some people are going to wear to this class. But Bhakti comes from a long lineage of, this yoga has been around since the beginning of time is what the yogis say, the ancient Vedic texts say. So a lot of reading from ancient texts happens. We go through a lot of, how to breathe. There was like a whole weekend on just breathing. Breathing is in yoga is called pranayama. So we're basically learning how to breathe properly, and just fundamental things that yoga teaches that you can take into your everyday life. How to breathe, how to control the breath, how to hold these postures. And, of course, you're going to be uncomfortable in some of these things that you're holding. But by training your mind and training your breath, you can get so much benefit from that asana practice, that moving the body around.
You know what? I was actually just going to bring that up. So when I was in college, I played lacrosse, and that was one of the best trainings we ever had. Was when we did stretching and plyometrics. They brought in this person, and they described when we stretch, it's going to be painful and it's going to be uncomfortable, but when you breathe correctly and embrace that, there is almost like this oddly meditative state that kind of takes over. Like that you really you lose focus. And I always thought about like, no, I have to focus on making sure I maintain the posture and I'm doing this and it should be painful. And they're like, no, you should be stretching. And the whole idea is that when I remember the lady like coming over to me and she's like, take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. And she was like, now exhale. And when I exhaled, she was like, reach a little bit further. And I thought I was at my limit. And she just kind of like gently placed her hand on the small of my back and just pushed me a little bit more. And I was like, holy shit. Like my hand moved like another 2 inches. I was like, that is unbelievable. Like I actually like for a split second kind of like stood up and she's like, no, go back to that. And I was like, no, but I kind of had this breakthrough. Like that's really insane. Like I didn't think you could do that. I thought I was at my limit. And it really came down to just being focused.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know what the crazy part is in the way she kept explaining it was the more that you focus on this, the more that you tend to lose yourself in it and you become so much more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got done, I was like, I remember we would have like, we'd have to lift like every day. And then there was a one rest day, and the one rest day was all like plyometrics and stretching. And it was like, this is so like, that became my favorite day because one, you didn't have to go to the gym, which smelled like feet.
Yeah.
And two, I felt relaxed when I was done.
Mm-hmm.
I never walked out of those being like, man, that sucked. There was times I walked out of the gym and I was like, I feel like Jello right now. I just want to go home and lay down. There was something about like that stretching practice that I was like, this is really, there's something, you kind of reach a point in your life where you're like, this is cool. Like this is no longer feels like work. This is something I want to go and do. So yeah. I can definitely understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. It's amazing when you breathe properly and learn to focus. I mean, I use that breathing in my drumming. I use it at work. I'm always mindful of, I get into some kind of strange positions to fix these dents on these cars. So I'm almost doing yoga on the side of the car, hanging upside down and, using these tools to fix these dents. And over the years, I'm like, well, I'm doing all these postures at work all day. So, I'd be mindful to like, okay, well, why do I have my shoulder up so high? I need to drop my shoulder down. I need to concentrate on my breathing. I need to relax my body. And then once I do those things, I can focus more energy and power into fixing what I'm fixing instead of being so uncomfortable in my body. So it's really, it's something that takes quite a while to figure out, because most people, you go to work, you do your thing, and you don't think about it, like, especially when you're doing physical work. I mean, but when you can bring breathing into it and focus into what you're doing, it actually becomes more of, I don't think of what I do as like a job. It's just like, it's more me. Like I'm giving of myself to this work instead of just like, yeah, I'm fixing these dents and whatever. Like I feel like I'm more present with everything that I do just because of the focus of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm into that. I like that. These healthy practices,
Yeah.
I have some myself now, so that's good. because things were a little questionable there for a while. But you need that. You need that centered base of stuff, whatever that stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
When you're learning from Ray Cappo, do you ever talk about like shelter or anything like that, or is he like?
No, he's he goes by a different name now. So he actually lived in an ashram in India for almost 7 years. So
Wow.
he goes by Raghunath now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he told all kinds of great stories and shelter stories, Youth of Today stories, and there was a bunch of hardcore kids that were in the training. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so it was kind of cool to meet fans from back in the day, and he has stories of, like being on the road and stories of throwing his whole record collection out into the crowd at the end of Youth of Today before he left for India, and just all these amazing stories that I was like, I cannot believe I'm sitting here and this is like the training that I chose to take. It's just completely.
That really is like life being like, hey, here's the path for you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So after Life Sick Life,
Mm-hmm.
we start up Demiurge.
Yep.
Now, I'm conflicted talking about Demiurge because it was a good band, but it was fronted by Kevin N., who I really dislike.
But first, it was fronted by Bill Sullivan.
Really?
Get the fuck out of here! Really?
Yeah.
How long?
Yeah. For, you know what? And maybe I'm messing this up. Maybe KN was first, and then
Okay.
Bill was after that.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm like, that's up in the air. But Bill sang for like a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was, on to the next thing or whatever happened. I don't. But yeah, I think Bill maybe sang first, and then KN came in after that.
I see.
Yeah.
And it was a great band. I wish I wouldn't have lost my tapes because I had filmed sets of Demiurge, Audience of One, everybody. But it's all gone. They accidentally got thrown away. But
somebody's got them.
Demiurge was good. That was an all-star band. You had you and Rory. Well, all right, 3/4 of the band was all-star. The front man was a clown. But let's see. There was you on drums. There was Mike on guitar at first.
Yep.
And Rory on bass.
Mm-hmm.
And then Colin Frangisetto of This Day Forward was on guitar for a while.
For a little bit. Yeah. Not sure how that came about. And he stepped in for a little bit. And yeah, that it seems like that band was only together for a short time. And then all these people were in and out, and we practiced in Rory's basement. That was like our headquarters for quite a while. And yeah, I'm not sure what happened. It's just I think Rory was getting more into his jazz stuff, and he was going to Temple. And I think the full-time school and then having a band, it was just too much. So I think that was kind of the demise of Demiurge, because Rory was just like, I just don't have any time, and I got to learn like all these jazz standards. So
yeah, and the front man went away to college. I remember I visited him at college with Pat. Oh, he was so lame. He lived directly above a record store, and he always acted like he was too good for like hardcore and all the music in the scene. He's like, yeah, I just don't really have time for that anymore. Oh. He lives above a fucking record store. Like,
just go downstairs.
Time? Go downstairs and buy some. Oh, I don't want to go into the specific reasons of why I dislike that dude so much, because I don't want to give it any more credence. But
sure.
Terrible person. Yeah. I'll tell you after the show.
All right. Yeah. I want to know.
Yeah. So you and Tommy have something in common. You were both in a band with Anthony Green.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about Jeer at Rome. This is probably the least known Anthony Green band.
Yeah.
And it was only together for a very short time. But how does that come together?
Short time. So Demiurge breaks up, and then me and my buddy Mike Lapone are back at Mike Lapone's house, jamming, just writing some tunes, trying to figure out what we're going to do. Our buddy Steve, who is another friend from the music store, everybody like this music store. I mean, there's so many people came in and out of this store. It was amazing. Yeah. But our buddy Steve started jamming with us. So we had 2 guitar players. A couple weeks later, he brought his brother in that played bass, and we had a whole bunch of songs written very quickly. I feel like we wrote like 4 or 5 songs like in a very short time. And then I knew of Anthony before just from being at shows and whatever. I think we actually met for real at a Shaw house party where This Day Forward was maybe playing at Shaw's house.
Mm-hmm.
And we went there with a whole bunch of people. And Anthony was there, and I guess we were talking about the band, and we needed a singer, and Anthony was like, I'll sing for you guys. And we're like, great, cool. Like we remembered him from Audience of One and from, just being at shows and stuff. And we're like, yeah, this'll be cool.
Yeah.
And he came to to Mike's to try out, or maybe just to start yelling. And we were like, yes, this is it. This is what we need. He wrote lyrics like super quick. We recorded at Vince's place, Skylight.
Mm-hmm.
And we played, I don't think we played many shows. We played maybe 4, 5 shows, and Anthony was on to the next path.
How did he end? Because we talked about this with him before. Like he would just abruptly leave bands. Yep. Was it weird at all? Or
I don't think it was weird. I think we just didn't hear from him anymore. It was just like, where did he go? And we were like, well, I don't know. And then I think, we probably made a phone call or something, making sure that he was okay. And once we figured out that he was okay, it was just like, yeah, I'm just not into it, or whatever else was going on. And I feel like back then it was just like, okay, that's what happens. That's what we do. And we just keep moving forward. And I never felt any like animosity towards people that left. I know that like, I remember like hearing from other bands and friends and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it was like always like a bad, it was like a terrible situation when somebody left a band, and we were like, okay, well, whatever.
I love how mature you are, because like I remember once I was just like kind of trying out to be in a band, and we practiced a few times, and then they were like, yeah, we're not doing it anymore. And I was like, oh. And then I saw they had a show booked.
Oh.
And I called them up. I was like, you motherfuckers. Like, I was like flipping out. And man, everyone just sounds so much more mature than me back then.
I mean, I'm sure there was other aspects of it that, we were probably pretty bummed. But yeah, I never remember like having anything bad to say about people. It was just like, oh, okay. Like it was a bummer. I was definitely bummed at Jarrett Rome, because that was like, after everything that happened with Life Sick Life and Jay passing, I didn't know where music was going to go for me, but music's always been there in the best times and the worst times. Like, so, I really, really loved those Jarrett Rome songs. It was very heavy. It was very fast. And, I think me, and I know Mike, our skills had greatly improved from the last couple bands, and like just playing music together for a long time. And those songs were just like ripping. It was some cool stuff. So I was definitely bummed when it didn't work. And then I think after Anthony left or disappeared or, like floated away, then Steve and Chris, the guitar player and the bass player, they were kind of like, yeah. And then they were gone. And then it was me and Mike Lapone again.
Yeah.
And and then on to the next thing.
I remember seeing Jarrett Rome once at Palanca Park, and Anthony would do this thing where he held like the microphone up to his throat.
Yep.
And did like the death growl type thing, which was all the rage back then.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and he didn't like to face the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I lost track of you around, the last time Jarrett Rome played is the last time I probably saw you. What did you do for the next 19 years? Like me, I moved into Philly, and then I don't know, bounced around to various jobs, got really high and drunk for like 15 years, moved up to New York City, started a podcast. What about you? What have you been up to? Give us some highlights.
So, married. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter.
Nice.
They're awesome. They're like my whole life.
How old were you when you got married?
Well, I was married before.
Ah.
So I got married when I was 28, and that lasted for 6 years, and that fell apart.
Yeah.
And then I met my current wife shortly after that, and you know what that feeling, and it's talked about in movies and all these things where it's like that's you meet that person and it's like, yep, this is it.
Yeah.
This
I'm convinced that that's not real.
It's real.
Are you
man.
telling me that it's real?
It's real.
Okay.
It's real. Yeah, it happened very quickly after the first marriage ended, and we were both just like, this is it. This is it. We were like in 100% from like day one.
Wow.
And we've been together, I guess, going on 7 years now, and every day is awesome. I'm not making it up. It's the best thing I've ever done. Having our little girl Montgomery. She is her name is Montgomery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you call her Monty?
We call her Monty.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yep. So yeah, just doing that. The family life now. I'm running my business, playing music still. Yeah, always had a band. Always playing. We did Nailed Right In was the next thing after Dear at Rome.
That sounds familiar. Who was in that?
Was Sullivan in that?
Bill Sullivan. Yep.
Bill Sullivan, yeah.
Yep. Bill was the first singer with Nailed Right In. So that was Mike Miggs, Mike Lapone again, our buddy Jay on bass. Bill sang. Bob Meadows sang for a minute, and then John Costello was most of the time that Nailed Right In was together.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long were you guys together?
That was from like 2001 to about 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time.
I'm surprised I never saw you guys. I kind of like disappeared after 2003 when This Day Forward broke up.
Mm-hmm.
But, did you guys do any touring or what was the deal?
We didn't tour. We played a lot. We maybe did some local tri-state area type things, but I don't think any of us really had the time to commit to like more than that back then. And I think that's always what it was. Like, I think we all wanted to do more, but I just don't think we had the time. We all worked and we, had other things that were, pretty important as well. So leaving for a long time wasn't really something that we could do. So we just like made it work with weekends and whatever. But we played a lot with that band. That was a fun band, but more on the metal side. So we're all a bunch of old metalheads. I mean, we were in the hardcore scene for what it was, but we always kind of pushed more towards the metal side of things.
Yeah, whenever I think of Bill Sullivan, I think metal.
Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You sound like me. It's like I never made the jump to just doing music full time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to do that, like how to sustain my lifestyle and do that at the same time. My number one priority was always supporting myself because I did not want to have to move back home.
Right.
Because at the scene, it was like, at the time, it was like not a good scene there.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to pay rent. I had to pay bills. I had to sustain myself. So it was always like, I'm working 9 to 5 and then I'm doing the band around that whenever I can.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was for us too. And, that was enough. We had Thursday night practice was like a thing for, forever,
Yeah.
It was just like part of our life. Thursday nights, we're at the practice spot for a few hours, hanging out, writing music, getting in arguments with each other, whatever was happening. But it was always a fun time.
So let's talk about your new band or your latest band. Now, I was excited to see that you're doing a post-rock project because I'm a huge post-rock head.
Uh-huh.
Tommy as well.
Oh, yeah.
Monsters Eat People. I've checked out the EP on Bandcamp. This is really good stuff. And folks, check it out. Monsters, I think it's just at Monsters Eat People on Instagram, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Tell us how this came together.
So we had another band before Monsters Eat People. It was called Samsara, or Curse of Samsara. We started out with Samsara, then we figured out there was another band somewhere, so we changed it. We just put Curse of in front of it. So that was a project with Dave Fox and a couple other like Philly, Delaware County guys.
Yeah.
And I met Dave through another friend of mine, another tattoo artist, my friend Scott. Him and Dave have been friends for a long time. And Dave's in the metal. I'm in the metal. He's like, you guys should meet. You guys should have a band. And they had some other project. It was their drummer left. I came in. We changed the name, wrote a bunch of songs. And that was like this like super fast, like deathy, techie metal. We did that for a couple years. And Dave decided to move to California to open a tattoo shop. He was out there for a year. And while he was out there, the remaining guys from Samsara, minus the singer had a bunch of other projects going on at the time. So he kind of started doing his own thing and just couldn't commit to the time with us anymore, which was cool. Again, whatever. We were just jamming on some instrumental stuff, no singer. And then Dave came back from California. And we were like, yeah, this is kind of what we're doing. We're trying to do this like spacey, weird instrumental stuff. And he was like, yeah, cool, awesome. While Dave was away, Mike Lapone came back to play guitar with us for a bit. And then when Dave came back, there was like 3 guitar players in the band. And we wrote all the songs on that EP. And here we are. Played a bunch in Philly, had fun with it. And then music just ended.
What was the last show you went to? I think the last gig I went to was December 27th, 2019. It was Plaque Marks. That's the band with Doug Sabalik and
Pat Troxel.
Mike McGinnis and Pat Troxel.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, in Bushwick, in Brooklyn. I think that was the last gig I went to. Do you remember the last one you went to?
I don't, because my daughter, I kind of like gave up the nightlife thing because I had to sleep at some point. Tommy, you know it.
Oh my God. I have 3 kids and it's like, it's one of those things that like I make time I hate to say this, every year to go see a couple bands. Like, but usually I go with Keith to go see All Else Failed whenever they get back together. And then This Is Hardcore or whatever other big show is kind of coming through. But like, it's that trying to balance your family and going out is just, there is no balance. It's like going out just drains you because the cycle of what it takes to maintain at home doesn't stop. The dishwasher needs to get emptied. The clothes need to get folded. Kids need to get snacks and meals. Like kids have to go to school. Like shit needs to get done. And sometimes it's really like I carve out enough time to do this podcast every week. But, I always think about like, Keith's like, we should, there's like, what if a project came around? Like, I don't know if I do anything. Like, I get so much satisfaction out of being with my family. Like, I think that's one of the things that has kind of like really shaped the way I think about just life in general now is like, I used to get satisfaction out of things like, going out with my friends or getting drunk or like whatever it was. And it's like, now I try to be very present when I'm with my kids because especially now, like my youngest daughter is 17 months and like she's getting bigger every single day. And it's like, this is the last kid we're having. So I'm like, this is the last time I'm going to see someone's first steps. This is the last time I'm going to hear her first words. Like, so I make it a point to be like, when I'm done teaching every day, I go upstairs and it's like everything else, like my phone gets plugged in, my Apple Watch comes off, like everything, like those ways to check out and like be engaged in something else go away. Like, because I feel like, I don't know. It's just, it's so gratifying that it's like, I feel like I would be, doing myself a disservice if I didn't spend not all my time, but be really focused during that time. But I think being older now, it's like, look, I'll carve out some time and go to shows because I still love that feeling of being in the middle of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That I still like. I can't wait until I see All Else Failed again, or just any band that is just like that creates that type of room, like that where everything just gets electric. And it's
Did you guys see that Furnace Fest lineup?
Yes.
Holy shit. Luke, did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it. Is that for next year, I guess?
It's for this September.
Okay.
It's literally every band we've ever liked.
Oh, wait, is that thing in like, it's down south, right?
Yes, it's in Alabama,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a ticket. I hope it happens. I already booked the hotel. I'm going.
Awesome.
I'm going. Every single band, all of them.
But yeah, a buddy of mine that at one of my dealerships, he actually had tickets for last year, and he was telling me like every day he would see me and be like, "And these guys are playing, and these guys are playing," and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is crazy."
It almost seems like a joke, you know, like how they make those joke Coachella posters, and like I don't even know what to say. But Tommy, I hear what you're saying. Like when you're married, when you have children, when you have multiple children, when you're in a relationship, you can't just do whatever you want. Like Tommy, you can't drop everything and be like, "Oh, I'm going to this show in Philly at Kung Fu Necktie." Yeah. You watch the kids. Your wife would be like, "What?"
Yeah,
like you have to like plan these things in advance. There's a lot of like, you know, there's a lot of considerations.
Yeah, but like, and that's the other thing that goes along with it. Like tonight, like I'm doing the podcast down here. Like I ran upstairs after work and I got dinner ready. And I cleaned up dinner. I filled the dishwasher. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take time away from being with them. But my wife doesn't have the added difficulty of like, now I got to go clean up the kitchen. Now I got to go do the dishes. Like all the shit that goes along with it. It's like when you're trying to watch the baby's like mobile now. She like runs. So it's like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to go in here for 20 minutes and do something.
Yeah.
It's like,
doesn't work.
The baby, like she figured out the other day, like my one daughter, Evelyn, like loves Legos, and she just has these huge Lego things she builds, and they're not like I followed the directions. Like she just builds these gigantic things, and she has this huge organizer that goes along with it, but she builds on our dining room table. Well, the baby figured out the other day, if she moves the chair just out from a little bit from the dining room table, she can climb up. So like I left her alone. What felt like maybe it might have been honestly like a minute. I came into my one daughter screaming, "No, don't touch it." And I'm like, what is happening in there? And I walk in. The baby is literally trying to crawl up onto the table at this point. She's standing on the chair already.
Wow.
And she's trying to knock over the Lego thing. And I'm like, no, go up and grab her. I'm like, oh my God. Like we don't have carpets in that room. I'm like, if she falls from here, this is going to be a hospital visit. Oh my word. Like, so, yeah, like Keith, like you were saying, it's about the considerations that go into prepping for stuff like that. Just because I always feel like I need to be respectful of each other. Like we don't have infinite time in this world, and to take away somebody else's time to say, I'm going to go do something for myself when I know that my wife gives up so much of what she wants to do or what she wants to be focused on to take care of the kids. Like I would feel like a complete, like, terrible dad. I'd be like, I'm a bad husband. I'm a bad dad. I have to do this stuff because it's just, if I don't do it, it's now the burden's all on her. And like the whole thing with our marriage has always been about like, you know, division of labor. Like you do this, I do this, and we're consistent with it and saying thank you. Like, look, hey, did you get the dishwasher done? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Like just showing that gratitude for even the little things, it goes so far because one, you take stock of what you need to really be doing in this world. And then on top of that, the other person in the relationship feels like, yes, you know what? I know I took time out to do this today, but there was that moment of appreciation. Like even if it's just a hug or a pat on the shoulder or, hey, thank you so much for doing that. Just a few kind words. It goes so long because I know I've done like on a Saturday, done like 5 loads of laundry. And then my wife will be like, at the end of the day, she'll like give me a big hug and she's like, thank you for doing that today. She's like, I know your entire day revolved around doing the laundry. I'm like, thank you for acknowledging that. It sucked. but everybody has clean clothes for this week.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's a balance, and when it can be a teamwork effort to do things is awesome. I think more people should hear that and do it, instead of just being so, if so many people just don't do that, and it doesn't work, like it's a teamwork effort that makes things work the way they do in a house. And
well, it's also like, I mean, I'm sure like with like your practice, like you go through this, Luke, where you probably spend time during your day of like focusing on things you should be grateful for. Like, because if you don't take that time to even just acknowledge it, you really do start to take even like the small things, like you just take them for granted. And it's not a healthy practice. It's not something that I look at and go, oh, I'm glad I did that. It's like, no, when I take 5 minutes out of my day just to be mindful about, yeah, today sucks. Like, yeah, I have a lot to do today. Like, I've been up since 6. Like, shit, I still haven't worked out. Like, I still have a whole bunch of stuff to do. But in my head, I'm going like, you have a lot of things that you should really be thankful for.
Yeah.
People are out of work.
Yeah.
People are sick. Like, and going to the extreme with it, like somebody took their last breath today. Like, somebody said goodbye to a loved one that they will never see again. And it's like being in that moment of like, look, I'm grateful for what I have and I'm so appreciative of it. It definitely helps your mental health. It absolutely makes a huge difference.
That's how I start my day. I mean, before I get out of bed, I, have some little prayers that I say, and I list, I make a gratitude list every single morning before I put my feet on the floor, and that can change your whole day.
Oh, yeah.
I say this a lot in my class, my yoga class, to my students, because, sometimes you as a teacher, you become almost like a therapist to people. They trust that they can tell you something, and it's not going to leave that room. It's going to be remain between me and the student. A lot of people have reached out to me through internet, social media type things to say like, wow, I really appreciate what you said in class today, because there's always a message. Before we start the actual physical practice, there's a 10-minute little Dharma talk is what it's called, some kind of spiritual based, I'll read a verse from the Bhagavad Gita or something like that, or share a story that my teacher has, shared with me. Just some kind of motivational, great little thing that people can take with them throughout the weekend or throughout the week or whatever. But a lot of people, especially lately with everything that's going on in our world, like a lot of people are hurting.
Oh, yeah.
And to give them something to take home with them is almost more beneficial than the actual physical movement that they've come there for. But yeah, the gratitude thing is huge. I mean, if you're ever at any point in your day, you're feeling like, oh my God, this is, put your work down, step away from whatever you're doing. You sit down for a minute and just make a list of 5 things that you're grateful for. And you can return back to your work with a whole new outlook on what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, gratitude is huge, man.
I started this a while ago just because somebody had sent me an email, but it was free. There's that app on the App Store called Calm.
Oh, yeah.
And it was free for educators. They were like, you get a free lifetime subscription. And I was like, get the hell out of here.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
I emailed them, because if you get like a lifetime subscription, it's like $400 or something like that. It's some ridiculous amount, right? And I've been consistently using the one. They have a meditation. It's really short. It might be like 15 minutes long, but it's about just being mindful during your daily routine, and kind of like exactly what you were addressing, Luke. But they use this thing called the see, hear, feel technique.
Okay.
And it's really kind of just based in like, all right, you take a moment to see things around you that you can appreciate. You hear the sounds that are around you and take them in and address them for what they are. And then take a moment to feel your seat. Like if you're laying down or whatever position you're in, the way your body's moving. And just those moments of kind of like just taking a second to address those things and just take your mind off of whatever, ridiculous list you have in your head of like the things I have to accomplish today, or what meetings I have to attend, or where I have to speak, or what I have to teach. And I go, okay, I'm going to be in this moment for now and just breathe. And it is literally, it's so liberating, because you really do feel like a different person after that. And like you said, Luke, it can change your entire outlook on a day.
Yeah.
What if you were the CEO of Calm and you got caught on tape screaming at somebody? It could sink the whole company.
It's really funny. On that app, I don't know if she's like the main person, but she's one of the like consistent voices. Her name is Tara, and I can't listen to anything she does because she says the word body really weird.
Body?
Yes, that's it, dude. She goes, focus on your body.
Body.
Your body is now lying in a position where you feel comfortable. I'm like, Jesus Christ, lady, are you out of your mind? I can't even. All I can focus on is that singular. I'm like waiting for her to say it again. I'm like, and it just takes me out of it the whole time. I'm like, I can't listen to this.
Tara,
I don't know how I guessed that, but I just did somehow.
Your body is now feeling, and like, oh, stop, lady.
Well, we're winding down here. So, Luke, is there anything that you want to plug before we exit here? It's bands, yoga practices. Give it to us.
Check out Monsters Eat People on Instagram. I think there's probably some videos up on YouTube if you search it. My Instagram, Luke Carmen 1978. I'm easy to find on Facebook. I've been posting all of last year for 2020. I guess I did this thing, 365 days of quotes. So every day I would post a quote and a little addition, some little story or, a little positive thing. So every single day for last year, I decided that was going to be like my gift to everybody. I really struggled with I wanted to just delete all social media and just like go away from all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I use this for my bands. I use this for work, for marketing for my business. Like I can't really step away from it, but I think I could use it to do something positive. And I had so many people reach out to me and, thank you for that today. I needed that today. I've been struggling with this. I've been struggling with that. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep it going for the whole year. And then for 2021, I'm just doing like random, a day here, a day there. So, if anybody wants to follow me for some cool positive quotes, that would be fun.
Yeah, you post a lot. You've actually posted a couple that like ones that I've seen before because we follow the same one, the Daily Stoic.
Oh yeah.
So
his books are amazing.
That dude is so good. He wrote he wrote a kid's book. His name's Ryan Holiday. Yeah, so he wrote a kid's book. I forget the name of it, but it's there's something about the little boy who was a king or something like that.
Oh, I don't know about this.
Yeah, so he just published it, I think, about a month ago. But yeah, I got his book probably about a year and a half ago. A mutual friend of Keith and I, this kid Chris Riley, he sent me a PDF of it, and he was like, "Dude, it's 99 cents. Just go buy it. Like, I'll send you the PDF so you can print it out. It's awesome, though." And honestly, it's one of these things where it's short little clips, or like, a quote from Seneca or Marcus Aurelius, and then there's a short reflection on it afterwards. And there's one quote for every single day. And it literally, there's some of them that you're like, okay, that wasn't as great as the other ones, but there's some of them that are profound things that I kind of like go, I'm going to keep this in mind during my day, because this definitely can change the way I perceive things, and more importantly, the way I react to stuff. Because you can't change other people's actions, their behaviors, their words, but you can change how you react to it.
Yeah. I like the little daily positive affirmations, Luke. I used to make fun of that kind of stuff a lot, but I think it's important now. And I partake in it myself. And, I find myself focusing more on the positive in all events in my life. Things aren't so great right now, but I'll be like, oh, this sucks. But here are some things that are awesome. I have a support network. I have people I can talk to. This is good. That is good. I find myself focusing on the balance rather than just saying, this sucks, everything sucks.
Yeah, I mean, you could adopt that mantra that, you could let that run through your head all day long. This sucks, my job sucks, this is tough, this is hard. And you start to become those things that you hear.
Yes.
You start to become the things that you see, the things that you watch, the things that you listen to. So if you fill your head with more positive things, it's a given that you're going to have a more positive outlook. So you could run that negative mantra all day, or you could run that positive mantra all day. And like that PMA thing, that's real. You can totally change your whole life, your whole day, your minute to minute. It's up to you. It really is.
I'm with you on that.
That's one of those dudes on Instagram that I follow just because I like how he fights with people in the comments. The John Joseph from Cro-Mags.
Oh yeah,
dude, he'll say some wild ass shit and then just like you think like, oh, somebody says something like, trying to troll him in the comments. You're like, oh, he's gonna ignore that. He doesn't.
Nope.
Not like at all. He just fucking goes after everybody. It's some of the funniest shit. It's some of the days where I'm like, I'm going to go see what he has to say. And it's him just posting a video, him watching the news, being like, look at his mama Luke over here. Blah, blah, blah. It's just like going off on people. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's actually into the same kind of yoga that me and Raghunath, Ray Cappo, come from the same lineage, this bhakti yoga. So John says a lot of the stuff, that same positive stuff that we've learned through this Vedic teaching, that's been passed down from generation to generation. So it's there's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of people that are getting into this bhakti yoga, and it's awesome. But yeah, I'm teaching anybody in South Jersey. Check out Lavender Koi Yoga. We do Zoom classes, so if you're not in South Jersey, you can take a class with me on Zoom, or you can drop in on a Saturday morning and spread some good vibes.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, we're going to tag you in the post. So get in touch with Luke. He does it all. Paintless dent removal, yoga, phenomenal drummer. And, Luke, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show. I love that I have this platform because I get to catch up with people I haven't talked to in almost decades. And, I just like to highlight musicians that I love, that we love. I think you're one of the best drummers that I know. So it was just great to have this opportunity to catch up.
Thank you for that, Keith, man. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the show. You guys put so much work and effort into it. I'm grateful for you guys for asking me to be on. And this was like super fun, man.
Awesome.
Thanks again, Tommy. Luke. Yeah, thank you so much, Luke. And when I remember when Demiurge was forming, I was talking to Anthony about it. He's like, yeah, dude, it's like a super group. It's like all the best. He's like, it's all the best musicians. It's like it's Rory, Luke, and I was like, who's playing guitar? And he's like, Colin. I'm like, what? What is happening here? Yeah. What are you talking about? And he's like, dude, it's fucking nuts. He's like, it's gonna be fucking awesome. And then same thing when Geo at Rome started. He was like, well, we got Luke, and I'm like, all right, well, this is gonna be awesome then.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. That means a lot.
There you have it, folks. Luke Carmen. That was an awesome discussion. I just love, well, one, like I told him, he's an amazing drummer. He would like you said to him at the end, when he was in a band, I was like, okay, this band has to be a big deal. Because he was like the best. He had to be one of the most sought after. I wasn't like in on the planning of bands because I was never in one or asked to be in one. I'm not mad at all. No. But yeah, like when he was in a band, I knew it was going to be a good band.
Oh, yeah.
And two, the whole yoga practice, everything, just solid dude all around.
Yeah, I love the fact that he's very grounded. Like when people sometimes talk about the past, they're like, yeah, well, we could have done this, and if this was about to happen, or we thought we were going to make it with this. He's very resigned to no. What happened, and I'm just moving forward.
Yeah, he sounds very mature. I loved that because I was not and still am not sometimes. Look, I still hate KN after all these years and love talking about it. Luke is just he just kind of lets things go. He's like, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think with that kind of stuff, especially with when it comes to like things that they happened 25 years ago, you know,
Yeah. Oh, I'm never going to let it go.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I just I'm like I feel like to me it's like wasted energy. Like
it is.
I have a finite amount of energy and I feel like I can't spend it on stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you know,
That's why I didn't go deep on it.
Yeah.
I actually had a whole segment in my mind where I was going to delve into why I dislike this individual so much and all these things, but I didn't do it. I pulled back.
I liked your Simpsons reference there for a little bit.
Yeah, did you like? I knew you'd catch that.
I didn't want to say anything into it because in my head I'm like, I don't want this to be about the Simpsons because it was definitely something that was interesting and we were talking about, but I was like, I'm going to say something afterwards. I have to address that. No, yeah. That's too obvious. L. Simpson.
Yeah, I use that one all the time. Yeah, but I'm really into what Luke was talking about and kind of manifesting your own destiny and changing your life for how you want to be it. I'm into all that shit. I believe in that. I believe you can take control of your own life. I believe you can manifest. Now, I'm not talking about, I know there are large groups of people who are kept down by our awful society and all of that stuff, but I'm talking about if you're miserable, if you're addicted, if some forms of depression. I think in some cases you can seize control of your life and manifest the reality that you want.
Yeah,
and I'm into that, and that's because of my experience. Like I was miserable, addicted, depressed, never talked to anybody, sat inside, watched the same 3 TV shows and movies over and over and over again, and I pulled myself out of that and gave myself a life. So I'm into the idea that that's possible. I realize it's not possible for everybody, but I'm really into the idea that that's a possibility and that you can do that because I want people to improve.
I think you nailed the part of it that I was going to kind of focus on, which is there are things in the world that we have control over and things we don't.
Yes.
The key to being happy is identifying the things you have control over and exercising control. Like, okay, yes. I have control over this. I can change the way it either affects my life or the way I think about it. You know, there's certain things that you just can't, you can't change things. Like, you know, like there's certain things at school that I'm like, I'm just not happy with the way this is going, or I'm not happy with the policy we have on this. And it's like, I can't do anything to, change that. I'm not in administration. I'm not in charge of making those decisions. But at the same time, I can look at it as, okay, I can't change that, but I can look at it in a way that allows me to move past it and not dwell on it and not make that a focus of like, well, we're still doing this. Like, who cares? Teach better. Get better at what you can do, which is making making my lesson interesting and making it something kids can be like, oh, this is useful because of this application Mr. Doherty showed us. I can do this because I know how to be able to like think about this properly. But there's so many things that are just out of our control, and we spend time and effort and energy worrying about them. It's like, dude, you just like, what if you get cancer? What if you step off a fucking curb tomorrow and get hit by a bus? Like, there's a ton of what ifs, but the stuff you have immediate control over, we tend to be like, well, I'll change that later. It's like, no, fucking work on it now, dude. Like,
yeah.
I actually was having this conversation with a friend the other day about like, they were like, I haven't had a drink in like a few weeks. And I was like, cool. Well, how do you feel? And they were like, great. I'm like, good. Embrace that. Like, don't like think like, okay, well, when this month is over or when this period of time is over, I'm going to go back to it. Like, recognize that you feel great without it. And then if at some point in time in the future, you're like, you know what, maybe I want to have a beer or I want to have a drink, indulge, whatever, do what you want to do, but recognize that there's times where we haven't had control over those things and it's gotten out of hand and what the repercussions were. Like, that's what keeps me straight with certain things is I go, I never want to get back to this point.
Imagine being able to control that.
No.
I wish I could.
We've had this conversation before, but I still think back when people say I'm going to go out for a drink after work. I'm like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
That always just depressed me. I always think about this. I was out with some coworkers, and we were just at a bar having a meal and drinks, and I remember being so sad. I was like going outside and like puffing down 2 cigarettes, going back in, and I'm like, let me call the guy. And I'm like, are you in Manhattan or Brooklyn? And he's like, Brooklyn. And I'm like, shit. And I'm like rushing through this meal to go home to call the guy to have him meet up with me. And it was just like, that's all kicked off by one drink.
And I always think about this, like one drink, like what I liked about drinking was the feeling I got from being drunk. One drink never did that. Like,
yeah.
It would be 3, 4, 5, and then that line between buzzed and having a good time and hammered was just so blurry. And it was like, sometimes I would be like, oh, I'm just going to have a couple drinks tonight. And then I would wake up the next morning and be like, oh, I overdid it again. It's like, how many times are you going to say again? How many? Like, because this is we're like it's twice this week. like
I'm just always amazed that you can control it. You just kind of stopped, and like sometimes you'll just have one. I think that's incredible.
I think with me, I think the thing is like I have kind of relegated it to like I was thinking about this. It was gorgeous outside today. That makes me want to drink. And I don't know, do you get that thing like you want to get high because like it's nice out again?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Every single change of season.
It's cold out, let's get high.
Yeah, no. Summer to fall, fall to winter, winter to summer, or winter to spring, spring to summer. Every season change really makes me want to get high a lot.
I always thought of that spring outside when it's cold enough that like you would need a sweatshirt, but not cold enough that like you're freezing, like you wouldn't need gloves and a hat kind of feeling.
Yeah.
We got that fire pit probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember being like, this is the best feeling in the world. Being outside with my family, drinking a couple beers, sitting around the fire, telling funny stories, blowing bubbles, doing whatever, like funny stuff. And it was like, this is amazing. And I think that's what I kind of go back to if I do have a drink, it's like, it has to be the right moment and the right time. And it has to be about like, I'm not getting wasted.
Yeah.
And actually, I was thinking about this because it's nice out today. We're going to go up to the Poconos this weekend. We're going to go visit Kelly's family. Both of her parents are fully vaccinated now. Her sister's fully vaccinated. Her brother is a surgical tech. He's been fully vaccinated for like 2 months. So we're all going to go up and hang out at her house or her parents' house. And I'm like, you know what? When we go up there, especially when it's like this type of temperature, like in the 50s, like maybe they always do like a fire pit out back. And I'm like, you know what? I'll probably have a beer.
Yeah.
But I'll have a beer and then be done with it. I can't ever let it get to that point where I'm like, that feeling of being out of control is it makes my soul hurt.
If you can do that, that's great. I have, prior to stopping everything, I field tested every combination of things that I possibly could. There was a point in 2011 or 2012 where I stopped everything for 30 days and I say it's because like I wanted to take a break, but it's really because I had negative $1,200 in my bank account and I was behind on rent and bills and like, so it was really just because I didn't have the money.
Yeah. And
I had to not party for 30 days to catch up with rent and bills. And then around day 32, I was like, okay, I'm going to ease back in. And I think within 2 weeks, it was like a complete disaster again. So there's just no way I can do it, sadly.
Yeah, there's no balance.
There isn't.
I think with me, one of the things that I consistently go back to when I'm like thinking about drinking, I've told this story on the podcast before, but like I got drunk in the morning once. And
I did that before. I was really depressed about a breakup in like 2007 or something. So I had all this Guinness and Sparks in my fridge, and I think I downed like one of each before work or something.
Yeah, I did.
That's an awful combination.
I did it on a weekend, but it just didn't stop all day. And then I felt like trash. Like I felt like I was not only disappointed in myself, but I was like, I felt sick, like physically ill. But there was this weird, and the way I can explain it is kind of like I felt nothing. I felt like numb.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to ever feel like this again. I don't want to ever put myself in a situation because like I was watching, I was like, literally, I felt like I was watching life happen around me. Like things were happening and I was just going like, I was like a spectator. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't even be a part of this. Like I felt like I had broken part of my, I guess soul is the best word. Like it was this like pang, like this feeling in my chest, almost like heartbreak. Like, ugh, I've done some damage. Like,
Yeah, every summer used to go by, and I would spend the entire summer sitting inside on my bed watching The Wire for the 45th time or whatever movie or show I was watching at the time. I would sit inside the entire summer and watch TV and get high, and that was it. And at the end of every summer, I would always have this sinking, sad feeling, like what you're describing, like the whole world is just passing me by, and there's not a goddamn thing I can do about it.
yeah.
And I don't get that feeling anymore.
Oh,
And that's a big relief.
it is. And it's also, you know, what actually makes me feel really great about this is that, and I hate to like make this like a kind of like big thing, but I feel like skateboarding with my daughter kind of saved that because I have to get up in order to be at the skate park where it wasn't crowded and, you know, Ellie could actually go and like, you know, try new tricks and not be in people's way. We had to be there early. And there was nothing like getting up at, you know, 5:45 or 6 a.m. and waking up a 6-year-old and being like, this is good, good thing. Like just like going through the motions. And then, you know, I would get frustrated while I'm there, like, or I would fall and be like, that's it, I'm done. And she'd be like, really? Like, I'm still having fun. This is great. I'm like, you can still skate. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
and it was like, I'm literally watching opportunity of spending quality time with my daughter passing right in front of me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a dick and I can't fucking, I don't know when to say stop. And I think that was the scariest part for me was like, I think taking that huge break of like, I'm just not going to drink for a while. And when I feel like I'm going to drink again, I was like, remember this moment, remember these times, that feeling of emptiness and nothing, it will come back. Don't think that you've evaded it because you stopped for a certain amount of time. Like it's that ever present thing that is always there. And I'm actually thinking about, I have a coworker that I'm very close with. She's getting married in New Hope at the end of May. And I was like, I'm so excited to go to this wedding. And it's the first wedding I'm going to where I'm not excited to go and get wasted. Like, I'm excited to just go and see my friends and have a good time and talk to people and eat good food and spend time with friends. Like, it's just like, that's, it's very gratifying. It makes me feel really good that I get to do that and not have to worry about how much am I going to have to drink? Who's driving home? How am I going to feel the next day? How much aspirin should I take before I go to bed? Did I drink enough water? All the shit that goes through your brain when you're like a professional alcoholic. Like, and I by no means was ever professional, but it's definitely one of those things where you're like, I embrace that feeling now. And I never thought I would. I never thought I would have those moments of like, yeah, I'm happy with being happy.
We're over time, and I'm absolutely starving because my eating has been all thrown off, so I want to get off here and run and buy some pizza. But remind me to next week or sometime to tell the Getting High at the Beach story. It's a good one.
You got it.
All right, folks. Well, that's it. That's it for this week. We're out of time. We want to thank Luke for coming on the show. Get in touch with him if you want to do some yoga or some painless dent removal, or check out his bands. Monsters Eat People, Nailed Right In. There's got to be something online for that. Or check out his bands, Monsters Eat People, Nailed Right In. We have the Life Sick Life demo up on our YouTube page. Continue to write us. Continue to leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts. Continue to be a member of the Northeast scene. So thanks everybody for listening, and until next time.